remember that horrible storm? That for me it was a wonderful event because everybody else was suffering. But I had a perfect excuse for my book. I mean, it was the great metaphor for the book was the weather.
So it was this terrible winter, but they, when they begin to spend time together, they're forced into spending time together, they begin to tell one another each other's stories. And so it seemed to me that in the beginning of the book, you're even telling people or giving us their stories and showing how storytelling itself can lead through to the invincible summer. I mean, that's something you do as a novelist and that your characters were also doing in the story.
Yes, they connect through stories. Something happened to me that my daughter-in-law reminded me the other day that I had not made the connection. Many years ago, when I was young and beautiful with the blonde hair and long legs, I was in Chicago. I needed to get to a place to give a lecture the next day, and there was a horrible storm in Chicago, a snowstorm and wind that was horrible, and all planes were canceled. So I decided to rent a car. I'm a terrible driver, and it's not that I drive that bad, it's just that I cannot see. So I don't know where I got the idea that I could get out of the airport in Chicago and drive to this place in a snowstorm. But I get to Hertz to rent a car, and all cars were gone because everybody had the idea before I did. There was one car left, and I was first in the line, and two guys were behind me. And so I turned around and I said, I'll rent the car, I'll pay for it, but one of you has to drive. And one of them said, yeah, I'll drive. So we get in the car and we try to get out of the airport, and it took like 20 minutes just to read the sign to get out. And so I realized that we were going to spend half of the night in the car, in the middle of the snow and the wind. And I said, look, we're going to spend some time together here and we are never going to see each other again. So why don't we tell our stories? And everybody picked up on the idea, and I said, tell your secrets. I made up a story about me because what would I say? I'm a writer, it's very boring. So I came up with something much more interesting about myself. And I don't know if what the guys said was also made up. It could have been. But it was very interesting, those two stories. And I always thought, and I have said this many times, one day I will write a story about three people trapped in a storm who tell each other their stories. And when Lori, my daughter-in-law, read the book, she said, this is the story that you have been announcing for years. So I didn't make the connection, but it's true.
Well, you